broadcasting in the middle of the afternoon. Not a usual time for me, but I thought I'd give it a run, and see how it's going. Let me just see. Podomatic, I am now 321. Let me see if I'm on. Yep, there we are, on live on Getter. Wonderful. Getter is really an amazing site, I must say. 617-396-4958 is the number if you'd like to join us. 617-396-4958 is the number. And the chat line is on Rumble, and that is at Rumble Charles Moscowitz. Check it out. We're doing a little bit of a live program here. Open lines. You're welcome to join the program. You can chat. You can get whatever is on your mind off your chest. Let me just shut the volume off there. And let's just see here. I want to talk a little bit about this testimony at the phony January 6th hearing by Cassidy Hutchinson, who is a low-level figure in the office of Mark Meadows, who was the chief of staff to President Trump at the time of the January 6th event, the incursion into the U.S. Capitol, what's euphemistically called an, quote, insurrection, unquote. Now, before I get into commenting on her testimony, I want to point out that this does appear to be another hoax, very much like the one that was originally launched against Trump, which was that Vladimir Putin and the Russians were using him as a spy and trying to set him up in office and stealing the 2016 election in order to install a puppet. That was the big, big lie, the big conspiracy theory that went on for years and that roiled American politics for years because the mainstream media totally supported it, didn't look into it. The people involved in making the accusations were turned into folk heroes because they were all trying to take down Trump, and they just hobbled his administration for the better part of 3 years with investigations by Robert Mueller and his brown shirts, who did every manner of thing to American citizens, including, by the way, Paul Manafort, who is going to be my guest next week. I'm happy to say. I believe he's coming on. When is he coming on? I think he's coming on Wednesday. Let me check my schedule here. Paul Manafort will be joining me on Wednesday, July 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He was really, they put him in solitary confinement. This is for alleged crimes that are not very similar to the type of things that have been done for years in Washington by foreign agents. They didn't do this to Podesta, who was Hillary's campaign manager. I believe he makes the case, and quite accurately, that he was prosecuted because he was a supporter of President Trump, and that the goal there was to criminalize anything that Trump did or anything that Trump said. We constantly were hearing these leaks of conversations that Trump had where he said something mean and something cruel. Nobody ever bothered to ask exactly how it was that we had privy to these private conversations. The bottom line is that crimes were committed. Those were leaks. His phones were being bugged, and those are felonies. Nobody ever mentioned it. And then you had the phony phone, the perfect phone call, and a lot of that had to do with a whistleblower who was allowed to be anonymous, as if there was something so profound, and who heard the information third hand. Was not really a witness, so they changed the definition of whistleblower to accommodate him. And then you had Shifty Schiff go up before in the well of Congress and lie about the content of the phone call, making it sound like it was something that it was not. And then later acknowledge this once exposed, because President Trump actually released the manuscript to the phone call and said, "Oh, I was just making a joke." Ha, ha, ha. When in fact it was an attempt to smear his reputation and take him down. And that has been done throughout, where you have these, these people listening in on his phone calls. Every time he goes to the toilet, there's somebody listening in. And they take something he said, and there's something that might have been insulting, fine. Maybe he can be a little acerbic. And they hold it up, not just to discredit him, not just to attack him and try to destroy his reputation, but to claim that he was committing crimes, to criminalize his speech. And the link to the protests was the cause of a second impeachment, which was finalized after he'd left office. But we now pretty much have information, including testimony from the Senate Sergeant at Arms, by which he stated that the people that were attacking the Capitol that day were paid agitators, agents provocateurs. There's evidence from revolver.com, very good work by a reporter by the name of Darren Beatty, very good reporter, indicating that there were FBI agents in there who had recruited people, very similar to the attack, the alleged planned attack, which never happened, on Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and also on Virginia Governor, whatever his name was, where you had basically an equal number of FBI informants and agents and assets coordinating and colluding and grooming, actually, a bunch of nutcases to try to get them to do this thing, and then using it, but the media then using it as a way, again, to demonize President Trump and his entire movement. And the one with Whitmer happened about a month before the election, so it gave a great opportunity for people like Rachel Maddow and even candidate at the time, Joe Biden, who spoke publicly, to say, you see, these people are connected to Trump, that they are white supremacists, that they are evil, that they're subhumans, and that we can't have them in this country. There's no place for such vermin in this country. When in fact, all along, it was a setup. There's evidence that the same thing happened in January 6th, and that this man that just testified to that, who was there and who should know, he has died, apparently. No one knows how, no one knows why. I'm not claiming that I know, but I'll just mention one public figure and we'll leave it as something to think about, and that is Vince Foster. Vince Foster is the highest level American official in the executive branch to die in office under mysterious circumstances, alleged committed suicide, never investigated. I'll just leave it at that. He was about to testify with regard to the Whitewater scandal. Anyway, getting back to this January 6th hearing, and again, before I comment on Cassie Hutchinson, who was their star witness, they had all this buildup. Oh, we have this important testimony that's going to blow a hole in everything. We finally have it after 5 years. It turned out to be this low-level figure, not a major figure. The January 6th committee itself is not legitimate. There's no Republican on that committee who can question or cross-examine witnesses, who could bring in their own witnesses. Pelosi refused to seat Republicans who were sent up in their official capacity as representatives, namely Jim Jordan and one other guy, Banks, I think. And that was unprecedented. I believe it was the first time in American history that you had a sitting congressional committee without anyone from the opposition party appointed officially by the opposition party to balance that committee. There's a reason why that is in place. It's to keep committees from becoming political trials and, judges and juries, kangaroo courts. It's to keep some semblance of balance so that we can get to the truth of whatever it is that they're investigating. That isn't happening here. They've got two stooges who are Republican in name only, who were not appointed by the Republican Party, but were appointed by Pelosi, and who are completely cooperating. They both voted to impeach Trump. So they're pretty biased. And they're pushing forward with this phony attempt, and it's not working. It's not working. That brings me to Cassie Hutchinson. The reason I find this interesting is because it fits into the profile of the entire way the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the administrative state, has tried to stop President Trump and his movement, because we are a real threat to them and their power. And by the way, she's been completely debunked. She was not there. She made some comments about President Trump being in the, quote, beast, which is the big tank-like presidential car, and demanding that they go to the January 6th rally where he promised that he would walk with people. The Secret Service agent driving the car said, "No, sir, we're not going there. It's too dangerous." And according to the allegations by Cassidy Hutchinson, he then started screaming, "I'm the effing president," and he tried to grab the wheel of the car. And the other thing she said was he apparently threw a plate in the White House mess room and had a fit of anger. Now, her testimony has been completely debunked. It's another hoax, just like the perfect phone call, just like the business at Charlottesville where Trump, they say he supported white supremacists, which was a complete lie. Just like he called for a Muslim ban, another complete lie. All these other things, private phone calls, which, this is a moment of horrors that we are to, shaking our boots with outrage. Most of them are either complete lies or they're private conversations that are no one's business. I mean, in the case of Trump grabbing the wheel or throwing a plate, all right, first of all, I've already established that she's not telling the truth, because she wasn't there, and the two Secret Service agents who were there, who she claims she got the information from, have come out and stated that they did not give her that information and that they're willing to testify to that effect under oath. Now, these are two men who don't have any reason to lie about that. They're working right now in Secret Service. They have been on the detail of Secret Service for several presidencies. They're not. There's nothing in it for them. Usually, these people don't like to testify in public. They usually don't want to be in the spotlight. They avoid being politicized, and yet they both have come out and said this is untrue, and we are willing to testify in public under oath and put our careers, our reputations on the line, possibly face criminal charges if we lie. Because when you're a Republican or when you're a Trump supporter and thus a subhuman, if you lie before Congress, you are in big trouble. You could probably be sent up to the gulag in Washington. Of course, if you're Jim Comey or if you're McCabe or any of these other people, you can lie all you want before Congress and nothing happens, because we have a two-tiered justice system. So before I throw open the phone lines, and you are welcome to call. I don't know if anyone will or not, but I wouldn't mind taking a call. That's something I've striven to do in this program. Um, I want to just analyze this phenomena because even if Trump did grab the wheel, even if he did say, I'm the effing president, even if he did throw a plate, so what? There's nothing criminal about that. He has a temper. Even if that were true, and it very well may be true. Why is that a subject of a congressional hearing? This is like when he said the shithole nations, and he mentioned several nations, one or two of which happened to be minority nations. So this, somebody, I think it was a senator was in the room, and he reported this as a crime, and that it became a big, big story that went on for about a week. It's a private conversation. It has nothing to do with anything. I have a feeling that other presidents have said and done a lot worse in private. Can I mention one name and we'll leave it at that? Bill Clinton, okay? Right? Some of the stuff he was doing in the White House and privately was not exactly the stuff that you'd want to promote. But even then, no crime. Well, in that case, there were charges of criminal activity by several women. But look, I mean, the point is that even if he did do these things, they are not criminal and they're no one's damn business. But somehow this is seen as the leading testimony by this phony committee that this young woman, Cassidy Hutchinson, who was a low-level employee and who wasn't even there, comes up and strides in and becomes a folk hero. And all of a sudden we're hearing, liberals pounding their chest. Oh, this is a day that's going to change the world. I mean, who's this historian? I think it's Michael Beschloss. My grandchildren are going to remember this, which, by the way, was the big mantra when Trump was impeached for the phony charge about Ukraine, which actually Biden had done. And I listened to that, and I listened to each of the congressmen get up and proudly march forth and cast their vote for impeachment by saying, my grandchildren will remember me for this. My grandchildren, every one of them, their grandchildren. Almost like they were programmed to say that. Well, anyways, Beschloss just trotted out the grandchildren again to remember how wonderful it is that he witnessed this fraud lying before Congress and smearing a former president, right? His grandchildren will remember it. And it gets to my basic premise here, which is that anything that President Trump or anyone who supports President Trump says, not does, says, can be viewed as criminal. This is a crime that he grabbed the wheel of the car. Maybe a parking misdemeanor, I suppose. I can't remember anybody charged with a crime, unless I suppose the car swerved off the road, in which case maybe he'd get a moving violation, maybe. And throwing a dish at the White House? Really? I mean, that's, even if that were true. Anyways, but under this regime and under this era that we live in, where the truth has been put aside and everything is politicized, and where you can be whatever you want to be, these sorts of things, when done by the enemies of the deep state, can be not only viewed as crimes, but people can be put into chains, like Peter Navarro was recently, and carted away. And that's basically what happened to Paul Manafort and Roger Stone. Manafort's coming on my show next week. I'm hoping to get Roger Stone on as well, maybe as a follow-up. But that's what we're getting in this country now, because of this vicious attempt to destroy the opposition by putting them in jail, by using heavy-handed Nazi-like tactics to smear their reputation and destroy them, that they're subhumans somehow. That is the world we're living in right now in this country. When I was growing up, I always heard about how the Nazis had murdered my grandparents' generation. and how that could happen here. And I'm like, never. That could never happen in the good old US of A. That's not who we are. That's not what we're about. And I still believe that, but I do believe at the same time that our ruling elites, who are completely out of touch, not only with average Americans and with who we are, but with the rule of law, that they can do these things and that they will do them and that they are doing them. And that it's, the anti-Trump movement has allowed for that precedent to be set. There are over 100 men right now and women languishing in this prison in Washington, D.C., without facing formal charges because their foot stepped on the lawn of the Capitol building, while at the same time, the people who were the ringleaders, like Ray Epps and others, they're walking around scot-free. There is something seriously wrong in this country right now. Anyway, let me give out the number. If anybody would like to call, I'm doing this program periodically. I'm trying to be consistent in terms of doing it at 3 p.m. I can't always guarantee that, but I am doing it. Here I am right now. So you're welcome to call into the program. The number is 617-396-4958. That number again, 617-396-4958. And if you want to chat, go to my Rumble station, Charles Moscowitz at Rumble. Please subscribe to the Rumble station. I would appreciate it. I was just taken down at TikTok. My first TikTok station, I got up to almost 100,000 followers when they pulled it down. So I reopened another one. And on that one, I was up to 15,000 followers when I just found out, actually yesterday, that they pulled it down. Now I've started a third TikTok station. Why not, right? Why am I getting pulled down? I think it's obviously for one reason only, and that is that I am talking about and questioning events that occurred on November 3rd of 2020, the 2020 election. That is verboten right now in this country. And I can tell you, as a former radio talk show host in Greater Boston, which is my hometown, where I worked as a radio host off and on for many, many years on small stations, I understand what community standards are. I understand FCC regulations, which I scrupulously observed. I never had a problem. People may not have liked things I had to say. They may not have liked my opinions. Maybe I pushed the envelope a little too far. Maybe I was a pain in the ass. Maybe some people got rid of me because they didn't like my opinion in a couple of cases. But I never violated FCC regulations. No one ever thought to charge me with that. It would have been unthinkable. And I knew and understood community standards and observed them. What's happening to me in terms of getting banned at TikTok and getting banned on YouTube is not because I have not observed community standards. I know what community standards are, and I've observed them. This is sheer political censorship. The fact that we cannot discuss improprieties during the last election is not only censorship in its most ugly form, but it is utterly hypocritical because these same networks had no problem with conspiracy theories about the 2016 election and their cockamamie idea that Trump was coordinating with a foreign government, Russia, to steal that election. That was no problem. They also had no problem discussing whether or not the machines were hacked or online. I saw an interview recently with then Senator Kamala Harris, speaking on the floor of the Senate in her official capacity as a senator elected from California, stating that she had witnessed, she says, the hacking of those voting machines. Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, who is it? The one with the pizza. Anyways, at the Democratic National Committee. All these people have been on the record saying that they witnessed or they knew or they claimed that the machines were hacked and that the machines were stealing votes. Tom Hartman, the left-wing radio talk show host, spent months talking about this during the 2012 election, saying that Bush had stolen it, or it was the 2004 election. Now, Elizabeth Warren, my own senator, excuse me, now we don't hear anything out of them. And these things are legitimate political questions. They're questions that we need to ask, that we must ask, but we can't ask them because we no longer have a free society. Anyway, on that note, I don't want to go into anything else right now. I've got other things cooking here, but I just want to, I'll give out the phone number one more time. You're welcome to call 617-396-4958, 617-396-4958. And I'm also very pleased that the program is running on Getter. Please subscribe to me on Getter. Getter is an amazing upcoming site. So check it out. I should also be live on Odyssey. I don't see it there, but I'm working on that. And I'm live, of course, on Rumble. Anyway, I think on that note, I am going to wish you all a happy afternoon. In advance, a happy patriotic 4th of July. Thank God for our country. I'm grateful for the freedoms that we do have. I'm grateful for the fact that enough Americans understand freedom, thank God, and that are willing to fight for freedom, as I'm trying to do in my own small way here. We all have a little something we can contribute. Please check out my books. They are available at Amazon Books. I don't have sponsors. I don't ask for donations. I simply am able to do it because of my books, which are all available at Amazon Books. My latest book being The Biden Coup, The Socio-Political Effects of an Illegitimate Regime. Check them out, please. They're available at Amazon Books, at Barnes & Noble Books online, both at Kindle and in softcover. So just look up my name on Amazon and you'll find them. Charles Moscowitz, Moscow like the city, W-I-T-Z, Charles Moscowitz at Amazon Books. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. God bless you all. God bless our great country, America. Thank you.